business, but as a service provider, I've been experiencing the changes which have been coming all through these years. My intention is to present to you the various changes which are happening at the platform level, at the network level, which actually make on to build in sites like the eBase or the e-commerce or the analytics sites that we have. To start with, what is cloud? Cloud is nothing. Cloud is a wastage which is being arrested between average and peak. A simple example, let us say I've got X amount of sales from a shop. I will not put only those items in the shop. I will put certain extra items which then becomes my dead inventory. Similarly, in compute, you have a dead inventory between average and peaks because peaks don't happen all the time. Peaks will happen once a month, once a year, once a week. And to handle this peak is the difference of the pricing that the cloud brings to the in-house setup. The second point I wanted to make was, we have all been hearing since yesterday, there is a challenge onto the network. Today also there was a question, when I use smart devices, suddenly my application response is slow, right? Or if I put in a lot of money to enable my sales folks, I do not get those returns because I don't have control on them. This is what I call as the difference between, IT capacity and the business needs. A very simple example I can tell you, when we go into businesses, I also have a business as part of CtrlS. I get a predict of 100 rupees. Whichever order the predict comes from is the order that doesn't materialize in that week. I still make 100 rupees. There is no nature in which a business can make a person commit. Even myself, let us say, I have to purchase a earring for my wife. I would know roughly the budget, between 10,000 to 25,000. I would know roughly the time, maybe Diwali time. But which date, which time am I going to spend which amount? If as a person, as a buyer, I am not clear, means that whatever we are trying to do from those IT systems to exactly predict which person is going to buy how much of what product at which time, I believe is wrong. It is asking too much from the IT systems. So when I push anything to the IT system, suddenly people start to ask the predictiveness, the 100% probability. But when I go into business, let us take a simple example. Whenever I do a e-commerce, I am afraid where my money will go. But when I look at it from a banking side, recently I heard UBI, they give loans, they have collaterals. Then why is it they are not performing assets? Which means every business has got delta loss. But in the name of automating that in terms of IT, suddenly we are not ready to take that loss. Or we want that loss to be zero, fraud to be zero. That is where the difference between the business and the IT capacity is now coming. And that is what is the challenge which any application of business or analytic owner wants to make it. For example, you put your website onto the web server. You expect it to run 24/7. You purchase a pantaloon kind of shop and close it in the night. Man, there you are paying daily amount which is 10x the kind of web server amount, right? Or sometimes 1000x, that closes in the night, and this guy is supposed to be on 24/7. You won't even give time for him to maintain. I believe that he's asking too much from IT. So again, to suffice to that, we had a journey. The journey starts with the latest client acquisitions. Few of the clients that we have all types of clients. So their latest two banks, I am providing them just rack caging, that is power cooling. The people like government, GRSE, this is a SAP environment. There is a POS platform for Innover. We were hearing mom and pop shops. This guy gives analytics and inventory analysis to 40,000 mom and pop shops at a rate of X amount per report. Then we have recently ported our first platform of multimedia commerce. No longer SQLs, no longer Oracles, no longer licensing. Direct and open source MongoDB, which is like the Hadoop platform. We used to see that a bank, even designing a DR for a bank used to take 1.5 years. Gentlemen, Mahila Bank became live in 2.5 weeks. The 17th day is when I handed over all the data center, DC, DR, application, and their first branch was opened. That's the age that we have come to. This is where is your favorite, the ING. So TransUnion, we are trying to port him into Hadoop. They were in Oracle kind of thing. But from a retail angle, the ING, the POS and loan support platform on site. So this is what we are now porting today onto the MongoDB. The reason is very simple. It is beyond the capacity of the Oracle's MS SQLs to handle that kind of load and that time of return. Again, understand what is the delta difference in these two. Is that whatever information he has, he will make you available. It is not a must information to carry out a transaction. Right? If I have a CIBIL rating, you will get it. But you can't ask CIBIL for any citizen of India's rating. And CIBIL is not mandated to have that. Right? Which means we are moving from consistent platforms to near consistent platforms. Which is why today you can make those things happen. And then of course there are mobile payment gateways and logistics and all that we have been hearing. So what drives CtrlS? Our aim in the company is to be an indispensable partner for this key age, have the accountability in place, and be a provider of these solutions which enable our clients. It's like a enabler kind of role that we take. The most important thing to think about is accountability. I will touch on it when I go through the anatomy of e-commerce. How do we do this? When we formed the company, we came up with a word which is known as total ownership. What is total ownership? We make sure of client expectations. How do you find that out? A very simple example I can tell you. We were just hearing the eBay. I'm a small time trader. I cannot afford a reputation management. What will happen? My negative reviews will be always there for up to review. If I'm a large trader, I've got a reputation management system. Somehow they will negate that and put in place the right sentences so it doesn't give the effect. Gentlemen, we are transparent. CtrlS till date. You want to find out when my network was down, when my client was irritated, you will find all that comments in the websites, on Google, and you won't find a comment back from CtrlS trying to protect its reputation. That's the ownership, that's the accountability that we bring in. If you come to us, we will explain to you how each of those incidents we have further developed our capabilities. But that does not mean that I have not done mistakes. CtrlS, as part of ownership, as part of your delivery, believes in the philosophy that it can do mistakes, but it is to improve, and that is what we call as client expectations. So the total ownership is today going up to 24 hours because people like you are demanding 24 hours across 7 things. How do we do it? It is not taking servers or building data centers. It is all trying to be the steward to you, trying to help you, trying to imagine new frontiers to you. What do we do? Pretty simple. We have got an infrastructure data center. We have got disaster recovery. We have got a delivery framework, and we have got cloud. That's all CtrlS does. That's all is what we do. So in terms of infrastructure, what was the problems with large in-house data centers? There were 3, 4, 5 problems which were there, which is why CtrlS was born. How did we go about it? What did we imagine? So what we found was every 100 units of power generated or fuel burned, only 10 units was being consumed inside the server. Which means if I am consuming 1 megawatt of energy in my server farm, I am burning 100 megawatt of fuel. So there is a lot of efficiencies to be put in place. If I could somehow increase this ratio, then I was in the game. I was lower cost, I was providing a better atmosphere. I couldn't control this, but I could control from 32 to 10 minutes. So what we did was, we analyzed all the electricity flows and all. By that time, we also came up with a uniqueness. Can any one of you tell us how does a hotel or an office building is designed? What is the base unit? Anyone? Okay, so you design a hotel or a building by the number of car parkings that you have. Any architect between two columns will keep uniform number of car parking. Whereas when you come to data center, we keep uniform number of racks. That's it. Once we change the design specs, suddenly there were problems of space, air, people flow started to resolve. Because this was an industrialized building only for the racks. We did nothing. We instructed our architect to just take the base design of our rack. That's it. The second was power usage efficiency. There is a lot of hangama, all of this, all about it. What it is something like measuring that how much load that you use inside your computers to how much load I am using at my transformer or inlet in the building. But that is a responsibility entrusted to us, fine. But there are other responsibilities which are there. So if you do the energy audit, you will come up with other parameters. What are the parameters? My customer has taken a server and is not using it. Peak versus, that's a loss. Because you keep a server powered on and you are not utilizing the resources. It's like paying salary to a contractor, then you don't have those people to be put on work. The other efficiency was server IT components energy to server input energy. So every component that we know, finally there is a DC volt of 0.75 or 1.25 which goes into our chips. We supply AC volt out. So there is some conversion happening inside, right? What is that usage? Nobody started that. Everybody was focused only on PUE. So this is what we started to analyze. We couldn't analyze initially when we were small. Last year we did a study when we crossed 2,500 racks. So that is equivalent to 25,000 servers. So then we started to do these studies. How much is the heat output? What is the average utilization? We put in those sensors. That's when the trends started to come in. Even if you see Dell and all, they have taken this DCI matrix and put it to the CO2 efficiencies. So if you have Go Green, you can actually take our studies and then design your systems to go along with it. A simple thing that we did, we all have got this simple chiller in our homes. This is known as split AC. Same thing we use in data center to cool. You have in-house blowers, only this side it is drawing air from bottom. And you have got outhouse systems. This system is grossly inefficient. We change this to something like this. We change the outside condenser to a water cooled system. So still gas was going in, but the hot gas was not being cooled only by the power of the fans. We were rotating water over there. How does this system look like? Okay, I have not put that in. So doing this, I reduced Hyderabad PUE from 1.92 in 2007 to 1.68 single shot. And by the way, last year my oldest data center of 2006, Hyderabad data center, has been awarded the greenest industrial building in India. I have got no LEED certification, I have got nothing. At 1.55 PUE measured every day. It has decreased from 2.1 in 2006 to 1.54 as of last month. There are some 200 innovations that I have put in place. What are the other innovations? Why doesn't my chiller does variable frequency? Why does the compressor has to start and stop? Why can't it move up and down? So that there comes the concept of VFD motors. Then UPS, we did research, we found out that double delta or delta conversion saves me another 3% in conversion losses. And then we took up the final cost, which was the cloud. Why is it that people are shouting cloud, 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 and how does it affect me? This is a study that I found from Dell. If you see the internal efficiency, now this is the efficiency inside the server. So the power that I am giving him, how much it is converting into CPU cycles. Somewhere between 70% is where you start to achieve 80% of the efficiency. Which means every server which is put in my data center or any data center or any hardware resource that I purchase should ideally run at 70 odd percent efficiency. Then I am driving the maximum benefit. Right? Now, any of you has deployed SAP in his environment? Or no? So you can contact any SAP consultant. When we bring out sizing of SAP itself, the peak load we consider is at 60%. That is the peak load we consider as per the SAP sizer. So generally you purchase systems sized at 30%. So actually the gross inefficiency coming is 2.2 times when your CIOs, when your ID systems come in-house and ask you to purchase. And that is what starts to drive the cost. Because larger server farm, more number of software licenses, more number of people, more number of energy. That starts to create that helix. The answer of the cloud is to bring down this helix to proportionate levels. Another thing, I can't keep servers at 100%. So they should function between 70 to 80%, because after that, as you reach 100%, suddenly the efficiency of these total compute elements start to drop down. Right? So this is what is a simple measurement you can take up. Those of you who have got in-house data centers, you can measure what is your utilization and also define your own case studies as to how much you intend to save by going on to the cloud. We have now put in a system which actually measures. So there is a lot of fight that we see. There is a IBM RISC type P servers. There is a HP Unix server. There is a Intel server. There is a AMD server. There are 4 or 5 different categories of procs, right? People say reliability. But if I put in all of them onto the single spoke, the largest selling proc is IBM Power 7 from the reliability perspective. But it fares mid-level in terms of power per watt, a number of operations it can do per watt. Which means if I do to put in fairly large cloud farms, compute units onto IBM P7, then maybe I am missing some kind of green image. Right? These are the matrices that we are developing. They won't come out in the open. It will take us another 14 to 18 months to develop them, and then we will bring out a change inside the cloud. So what we deliver today? We deliver a guaranteed PUE of 1.42. We take contracts. We are the first data center in total world to take contracts at a fixed PUE of 1.7. Which means we'll put a meter on your rack, on your server. Please measure the number of watts consumed by your system. Multiply that by 1.7 and give me my money. Any extra efficiency is my profit. So that drives me to bring that 1.55 to 1.42 to 1.2. Right? So I've got an incentive to go green. You have got your fixed cost. And remember, every 0.1 save in PUE leads to 60 lakh saving on per megawatt per annum. Next was the cloud. So how does the cloud focus the things? This is a simple example. This is the first. This is a media company. I picked up the order somewhere 2008 in November. This was their cost coming to, and this is what we delivered. So we reduced the TCO by 30% over 3 years. We increased the uptime and we delivered the system. That is what put us thinking. So what were we thinking is that how do I grow a customer, leave aside cloud, how do I grow a small customer starting with one server, one node onto fairly large systems. This is a study of 2009-2010. What we did was we divided it into multiple layers. We said at application database we'll start with one server, we'll then go to double servers and then start the redundancies. Independently I can supply internet bandwidth as and when demand. So we created our own ISP, we are now class A ISP. Firewalls and load balancers are something that I can give as a shared service. So which can start very small and I can keep on increasing you. And similarly, the storage and backup systems are something on demand. So that's how we initially started even before cloud. Then came VMware. Some 2008 end, VMware started to take up. On the VMware basis, we then created something which is known as enterprise cloud or secure cloud for us. The only delta difference that we kept from VMware was in our other data center, we always had all the data backed up in this storage. So that in case of any eventuality, at least I have the data available for my customers. That's the only design change that we did from VMware. Then people started to talk about converged infrastructure, right from HP, IBM, everyone. We put in something which is known as three-way data loss. Now this is something which is the latest guidelines of RBI and SEBI. So you have a primary site, you have a secondary site and you have a far site. Your application or IP, the users can come to any place. It is absolutely transparent to the end user. All that data application, whatever happens, is at the bottom layer. Once we experimented on this platform for 1.5 years, 2 years, we have now set up our next version of cloud. So we are upgrading our public cloud structure itself to the version 4, which is known as maximum availability architecture. And because of all the things that our VAS providers or our e-commerce platform people have said, we are changing the way internet functions to the way the CDN functions. We are putting some 25 POPs, 18 of which are live as on date in various tier 2 towns and cities across India. So that let me not pump internet through Tata, Airtel and all, and then once again with you face that latency problems. Rather, let me push the contents onto the edge servers. This is India specific. Please don't compare me with Akamai's and Limelights. Right? I am a very small player, very small beginner. But my idea is, when I see the e-commerce site, I see it as two different settings. One is where I keep the catalogs and the heavy media. And one is when the customer chooses his bucket and then I go on to the transaction. For me, that is the OLTP platform and this is the web platform. For the web platform only, please remember, only for the web platform, because your user will have most of the time out after your basic frame comes in populating those photographs. That is where this is solely aimed at. So what we have done is we have created an objective store that is directly integrated to these edge servers. So you take a cloud portal. I have not been able to do it on general servers. I am sorry, we still not so technologically advanced. But a cloud setup that I have put in solely for this. When you go on to make your website there, it will ask you for the image folder name. All that images or whatever multimedia will then go on to this system. This system is today available in 18 cities of India. I am also integrated it to Vodafone, Aircel, and I am trying to integrate it with Idea and Airtel. Which means as your next gen flows out, the 3G and all, I will be able to cache this data and supply it. Right? It's not for profit kind of thing. It's just our experimentation to see whether we can bypass this internet backbone delivery problems. Because as well as you, it is also affecting my own growth. I would ideally like to supply desktops from the cloud. What prevents me is that bandwidth. So this is the bypass mechanisms that we are taking in place. My friend Prabuda is there. He has been helpful in bringing actually, the way we are doing it is not going to the Tatas and Airtels and keeping it. There are these broadband providers like U Telecom and Beam Telecom of Hyderabad and so on and so forth. We actually do a peering arrangement with them. We keep these servers there. Whatever data that they can pull through us is free of cost to them, is free of cost to me. Because I am not paying a Tata Airtel, he is also not paying them. Both of us save the money. At the same time, his users are happy. Now, Prabhuda for me on the back end has been doing a separate thing. So, we have put the Google content onto that. We have put Indian Rediff content onto that. We have put the Akamai content onto that. And now we are shortly going to put the Bitstream Tata as well as the Limelight content onto that. So, what happens is, for the ISP, it becomes a caching server. So, all that huge volume of data is not coming from his byte bandwidth, which means that the data which travels actually on the network is those few kilobytes that we want. And those few kilobytes is what we want ends up into the transactional platform when the user has booked out his catalog. And we don't end up supplying server bandwidth and sizing server farms, because this type of thing cannot be handled by one server. Let us say I have got a unique selling proposition in which I want to run down a video of 2 minutes. At HD, that video will be close to 4 MB. In India, I can't think of giving 4 MB to 10,000 consumers at the same time. There is no ISP. We have seen the largest of the POPs. They don't have bandwidth about 20 Gbps. You cannot handle that much hit at a single location, which means we have to put those hits based on geos, the geographical locations from their nearest points. It can't be conversed centrally. So as you adopt more and more, we will make this system more and more robust. The second net outcome of this system is, within my ISP boundary, within that data center, I have the banks, I have the payment gateways, I have the visas of this world, I have the TransUnions of this world. So when your catalog books out, it doesn't go from me to a separate network of BillDesk and from there a separate network of SBI. All that happens within a boundary router, which means that your transaction after the user has selected his catalog and is now going to pay you, the thing that you don't control, the way a payment gateway or a banking will behave, is also coming to a level that you can reduce those timeout errors by 50 or 60%. So this is my new cloud. The new cloud is very simple to my 3-way architecture. AVM fails, data fails, automatically it will come up from the secondary side. The site fails, it will automatically come up from the next side. Now what we are trying to do in here is, we are trying to include all those new technologies. So there is something which is known as software defined network we are trying to do, and we are very excited about this particular platform which is known as Pivotal One. Again, you can see it is supported by all of them. What is this Pivotal One? So what is this Pivotal One? So this platform actually solves both mine and your problem. You go and purchase an application, end of which is what? An MS Office or a browser is nothing but code, right? And then suddenly your IT team comes up and says, this will not run in this device or this iOS or this OS, and all complexity starts. What Pivotal does is, it has this defined fabric. You will just purchase or ask for the code. There is a very small component of this which runs in your desktop or a developer's desktop. You will run through the functions. That's it. Once you like the functions, you will upload that to any cloud fabric. So you see the rates of them and you say go and deploy. It will automatically create all those databases and MQs and SMTPs, whatever all that English is automatically created, maintained in a resilient system by this fabric. So what happens to a service provider? Service provider just adds and removes servers and storages. What happens to the end client? He just adds code or says I am agreeing to pay more. If you are agreeing to pay more, bust more, it can handle more traffic. That's it. All our complexity of IT, ITSM, everything goes off for a toss. The platform itself is self-healing. And that is what is going to come in another 1 year. We have already put in 2 test beds of it, and we are pretty excited about it. I mean, I am looking at reducing in the next 2 years. So, if you see my year back, I was 250 people in knock strength. This year, I will be crossing somewhere 550. Next year, it may go up to 800. And if this platform flourishes, we are thinking of reducing from 800 to 200, 1/4 of the strength with 2x divisions. That's the kind of system. That's what we are afraid. Websites not working, I am not getting reports in time, service provider to be blamed, internet not working. So this is the systems that we are putting in place for you, and you're pretty excited about this one. Naturally, you have got equivalents in the open source. We have OpenStack, OpenShift, all of those platforms will also come. Finally, we also have to move into something which is known as line of business applications. Our own dream is not to provide a composite set of marketing or e-commerce portal to you. Our own drive is to, just like your vendor today, we'll provide line item point solutions. So that whenever your business requirement has got some efficiency problem in some module of it, they can come to our site, experiment for 1 or 2 weeks, either purchase that, or they can go back asking those changes into your software. What happens is that reduces the software design cycle from a major release of 9 months right down to 2 or 3 weeks. Because the business says, I want this exactly defined after he has taken that alone. And that's what we are after. This is again a not-for-profit platform that we are putting up. So this is what I was talking about day before yesterday. I can't touch upon it now because of time. But this is what you can see. This is what excites us, the Hadoop. Capability of pull data sources from any site. And ability to give it to your own systems to bring it. Please remember, Hadoop is not a OLTP environment. What have I compromised with Hadoop is that for every 100,000 transactions, I may miss 2 transactions. But when you see from business, it's fairly okay. But when you see it from IT side, they don't even want to miss 1 email. Come on man, we have had Gmails for so many years. We never faced problems. So, if you just reduce from exact consistency to near consistency, suddenly the cloud looks very appealing. But if you are there on exact consistency, the complexity is so great in large setups that you can't handle it. The second use of the big data analytics is where you want these. Most of them we have been hearing last 2 or 3 days. There are people who have said that I can make your catalog perform better, I can analyze what the user is doing onto the portal. For me, it is a mouse over function, right? On mouse click functions that I measure inside that web page, and then I relate it to an analytics which is known as fraud control analytics. So what does fraud control do is similar type of actions. What does it generate? If I put in more field applications to that, you have got an end result to that analytics. But please understand, analytics can give you insights. Analytics cannot give you prediction. Because as an end user, as a consumer, I will fairly always fight my right to have that independence of taking my decisions. There is a thin borderline there. We are still till the insight level. We are not trying to cross the boundary on the predictive side. What we have seen from the Hadoops is the analytics that you see. The ratings, civil ratings is now must, whereas an individual residing in that database is not must. We see loan processing happening because of that. We see performance rating of CRISIL and all happening because of such data pools being used. And we see a path of collaboration happening in the industry. A simple example, UIDI, this payment gateway was architected, designed at the server level by CtrlS, is now live. And there are several trends which are happening. One trend that I have already said is consistent and near consistent, is what is leading to that. Finally, we have had our own systems that we have brought in over the period of time, be it IT, be it the COE structures, be it training that we had to do, and of course we had always the legacy system to support, because every client won't come and say, you start a new greenfield for me. They'll say, okay, you mark your improvement areas, but if you are handling my IT, you also need to handle whatever I have. So we have had that legacy application support with us. What is that we can do for you? We can do assessment of your cloud readiness. We can do a workshop if you want your journey to cloud. If you want TCO proof, you can experiment with our cloud systems to find out whether it is bringing those right parameters of network performance, server performance that your environment wants. And finally, this is again back to the total ownership. We understand it's a big task to secure and manage your IT. So whether you are taking pure co-location or any service, kindly rest assured you have a strong and secured foundation. And with that, I end my lecture. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Mr. Mama. Very interesting presentation.